A king named Sisyphus was condemned by the gods to suffer forever for daring to defy them. His punishment was simple and cruel. He was forced to push a massive stone all the way to the top of a mountain, only for it to be pushed back and roll down again. Sisyphus had to walk back down, retrieve the stone, and push it up once more. Again the stone would fall, and again he would begin. Over and over, for eternity, a horrifying tragedy. Now try to imagine Sisyphus happy. The Myth of Sisyphus is a philosophical essay written by Albert Camus. It spans around 120 pages and was originally published in France under the title Le Mythe de Sisyphe. Through this work, Camus introduced his philosophy, Absurdism, a philosophy that claims life has no inherent meaning. What is the meaning of life? Why do we live? Why are we here? Many of us have asked these existential questions, sometimes because of major events, being fired, heartbreak, a pandemic, or maybe you simply wake up one day and realize no one really knows why we are here. The road feels heavier, water tastes bitter, other people's voices fade away. This feeling is what Albert Camus called the absurd. Camus argues that humans have an inner drive to understand life and the world. The more we try to understand the world, the more it appears irrational. Albert Camus grew up surrounded by violence. Algeria was facing conflict between native Algerians and European colonists, especially France. He lost his father in World War I and was deemed too ill to fight in World War II. Battling tuberculosis in France and witnessing destruction as a journalist, Camus lived in despair. If the world has no meaning, can our lives still have value? This question became the beginning of the philosophy of absurdism. Human beings are driven by a deep, almost instinctive need to understand. We want life to make sense. We want the universe to explain itself. For as long as humans have existed, we have tried to impose reason on reality, to believe that behind everything there must be order, purpose, or a final answer. But absurdism begins at the moment this effort collapses. It is the realization that no matter how intensely we search, the universe does not respond with meaning. It remains silent, not because we are foolish for asking, but because there is no inherent explanation waiting to be discovered. From this perspective, the world itself carries no built-in purpose, no hidden script, no universal reason written into existence. What we call meaning is not found, it is constructed. Throughout history, humans have returned again and again to the same question: why are we here? And when the universe offers no answer, people tend to respond in familiar ways. Some conclude that life has no meaning beyond the present moment, that only what exists now is real, and everything else is an illusion we project onto time. Others feel the weight of that emptiness and attempt to fill it by appealing to something larger than themselves, a higher power, a divine order, or a transcendent purpose that stands beyond the visible world. Absurdism does not mock these responses, it observes them. It points out the tension between the human demand for meaning and a universe that offers none in return. And it is within this tension, not in despair, not in denial, that absurdism takes its first step. The absurd refers to the conflict that arises between the human tendency to search for value and inherent meaning in life, and the human inability to find any real reason in a universe that has no purpose, no inherent meaning, and no rational order. When we reach this point, Camus presents several possible responses. The first is to stop caring about the absence of meaning. This is the most common choice, where we pretend that the world is actually reasonable and attempt to create our own goals in order to give life a sense of meaning. One example of this is when we try to avoid the fact that we live only in order to die. This fear often leads us to believe that there must be a reward or a punishment after death. In more secular societies, accumulating wealth and living comfortably in retirement is seen as a reasonable way to live. Yet, according to Absurdism, almost all systematic concepts of the world, whether religious, social, or financial, are ultimately ways of avoiding the fact that these systems cannot truly confront the absurdity of reality itself, even though they may make the journey of life feel more comfortable. Another response is to abandon reason altogether. Some philosophers, such as Karl Jaspers, argued that reason or rational thinking is an inadequate and unreliable concept. He suggested that thought itself is driven by a desperate desire for metaphysical transcendence. Other philosophers, like Kierkegaard, argued that the world does have a form of meaning, but that meaning exists beyond human understanding. Therefore, we should simply believe, accepting the fact that we will never truly understand the world, yet choosing to have faith regardless. Albert Camus' final response, perhaps the most controversial, is the idea of ending one's life after confronting the harsh reality of the absurd. But Camus argues that suicide destroys freedom itself, and freedom is the very foundation of a meaningful life. The beauty encountered in life itself is what makes it worth living. Human beings are capable of creating meaning within their own lives, not an objective meaning of existence, but something still worth fighting for. However, Camus insists that one must always maintain an ironic distance between the meanings we create and our awareness of the absurd, so that these fictional meanings do not replace the absurd itself. He introduces the idea of acceptance without resignation and asks whether a person can live without appeal, defining a conscious rebellion against escaping the absurdity of the world. In a world without higher meaning, human beings become truly free. Through this freedom, one may act as a mystic, or be drawn towards supernatural power, or become an absurd hero through rebellion against such hopes. From that point on, the absurd hero's refusal to hope becomes their singular strength, the ability to live fully in the present, with intensity, clarity, and awareness. According to Camus, the most honest response is to live in full consistency with the absurd. This way of living requires the adoption of three fundamental mindsets. The first is constant revolt, a continuous rebellion against our condition, most clearly against the certainty of death. Not by denying it, not by escaping it, but by standing in opposition to it. By doing so, we allow the absurd to remain alive. We revolt with full awareness that we will never ultimately win. And it is precisely this awareness that anchors us in the present moment. Our task then is not to seek final answers, but to illuminate for ourselves what must be done within the limited time we have. The second mindset is the rejection of eternal freedom, the idea that one day, at some future point, we will finally be free. Camus argues that this is an illusion. Freedom is not something waiting for us ahead. We are free at every moment. Recognizing this is essential to appreciating life as it truly is, not as we wish it should be. The third mindset is to live with passion, not passion as blind optimism, but passion for living itself, for experiencing life for as long as it lasts. The absurd human being is fully aware of mortality, yet chooses to accept it. Aware of the limits of reason, yet continues to use it. Experiencing both pleasure and pain, yet embracing them. Seeking experience, not despite suffering, but alongside it. This is the response Camus offers in The Myth of Sisyphus. Each time Sisyphus walks back down the mountain, lifts the stone once more, pushes it upward, and watches it fall again and again, without end. Camus asks us to imagine him happy. not because Sisyphus is deceived, but because he is not. He holds no illusion about success. He expects no better tomorrow. His existence is bound entirely to the present moment. And yet he continues. In the relentless repetition of a task that will never be completed, Sisyphus revolts, not with hope, not with denial, but with lucid awareness. He confronts the uncertainty of existence with absolute clarity, standing against nihilism and despair. Through this awareness, he becomes truly free, even within a condition that appears completely meaningless. Thank you.